channel is usually about car stuff and dog stuff, but there's a global pandemic going on right now. Everyone in Los Angeles, where I live now, wants to get a bicycle. I went on Craigslist, I was reaching out to people, and then I saw someone selling a Retrospec bike for $300. So I went to Retrospec's website, and lucky enough, they had my size. I was pretty discouraged before this, so that's why I resorted to Craigslist. Even though I'm not a big Craigslist fan, I don't want to get killed. What I was looking for in a bicycle, I don't want anything that's like over-engineered. I didn't want a mountain bike because I didn't want anything heavy. I wanted something lightweight, and I wanted something that I could kind of modify. I didn't want to be a hipster, but unfortunately, I bought a single-speed bicycle. What are the advantages of a single-speed bicycle? Maintenance, cost, and I guess that's what I'm on paper. We'll see. This is called a Retrospec Harper, about a size large. What tools am I going to use? I have a little tool set that I purchased on Amazon. I will post the link to that tool set in the description. So right now it is fully assembled, and I just wanted to go over a couple of things that you may experience when you do install this bike. One of the first complaints that I see people say is that the tire is too close to the pedals. That's because this fork right here, you're installing it the wrong way. So if you rotate this, this angle would become actually a little bit straighter, and then when it's straight, the tire would knock into the pedals. So as you can clearly see, there is a sticker on this that Retrospec has included that says front. So this is my first time dealing with this type of valve here, and it was pretty interesting. So it's not a Schrader valve, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's called a Presta valve. So the bottom washer was a little bit loose, so I tightened that up. And then I undid the valve cap. And right now, if I push down on this, nothing happens, right? So in order to release air, this brass part here, I have to pull on that. Then once I do that, you see, I can take air out. So I guess it's a safety valve. So for the life of me, I was unable to figure that out. So I had it fully tight, pump some air in there, nothing would work. The other thing to remember is if you don't tighten this up all the way and you try to put the valve cover on, it's going to, the top of the valve cover is going to push down on the brass and air will be released. This is the front wheel. The one thing that I noticed is, okay, so there's an initial nut on there, right? And then there's a lock ring washer. So this nut and this washer, they're separate pieces. This is a 15 millimeter. So the tools that they give you do work on it, but obviously a socket or a wrench is probably gonna be better for you. So the way that it works is this wheel comes off, you take this nut off, you take this washer off, and then you're going to be able to place this wheel on this fork here, right? So it just shimmies in there, and then there is a pressed area on the actual fork. So then this washer with the lock ring can sit on that, and then you can bolt this on. Now, it would be wonderful if they machined it for it to perfectly fit. But considering this is a $200 bicycle, that doesn't happen. So what you get is if you place this wheel in all the way at the bottom, is you're gonna have either the wheel not sitting straight, or you're gonna have a hard time adjusting your brakes. Now, what I did was initially put the wheel hub all the way into the fork. I gotta be a little bit more specific. So it sat all the way at the bottom. I was like, okay, if it's all the way at the bottom, I'm assuming that it is, I guess, designed equally. So this way I won't need to worry about it. And then I'll make my adjustments on the brakes. So what I was noticing, that my front brake pad was clamping up here on the rim instead of on the dish. So obviously, the brake pad is supposed to clamp up here because it's the most flattest surface area, and this way, if it clamps on there, right, you'll have more stopping power, whereas if you try to brake up there, you're not going to have any braking power. So if you look at this, there is a 4mm hex bolt right there, and there's an opening at the top. So if I undo this bolt right here, I can slide this brake pad up and down for an exact placement of where I want it to be. So I saw the design of this brake pad, and I see this little fin up here, and I thought the fin should be towards the tire. So like, cause the fin moves away. So I thought that, you know, oh, it gives you clearance, so this way you can adjust the brake pad all the way to the edge, and this way the tire won't be affected by the brake pad, because you don't obviously want to rub against the tire here, because that's what's going to cause premature wear, or a flat tire or something along those lines. Well, unfortunately I was wrong, and this fin needs to be at the bottom. And how do I know that? At the bottom of this brake pad, it tells you which direction forward is supposed to be. So it was that way, guys. Okay. The other thing that I had to do was this brake line. This is held on by a 5.5mm hex, if I'm not mistaken. So you undo this bolt, and you can actually pull on this brake line, okay? So what I noticed is, even though I had adjusted the brake pad appropriately, I still wasn't getting a tight enough feel. So when I was applying the front brakes, I noticed that it wasn't stopping quickly enough. And I understand with front brakes, you kind of have to be gentle, otherwise you're gonna, you know, high side, so to speak, you know, flip over. So what I did was I undid this bolt, and this clamp here holds this brake line. That's all that holds it. So I pulled on this brake line as much as I could, so there would be not as much slack on the brake line, and it tightened up the brake travel. So that's what I wanted to do. To be honest, I don't really like the front brakes. I never really use them. I guess you go all front and rear brakes when you apply them. But I was planning on taking it off if I don't like the way it feels. But so that was the front brake adjustment. So just remember, you can adjust the brake pad, the height of it, based on this, and also adjust the brake line. A little bit of damage due to shipping. I'm okay with that. This is on the front fork. There's also, I guess, a location for some attachments. So that's pretty cool. You can put a front basket or something like that. So okay, and the other thing is, this brake line is very long. I think I'm gonna cut it to like down here. Okay, let's move on to these pedals. In the reviews on Amazon for this, as well as the reviews on their website, I noticed that a lot of people had zero idea how to install these. Okay, you can see that little R right there. This is the right pedal. The right pedal goes on the side of the bike that has the crank and the chain. Installing them is really straightforward. On the right one, you go clockwise. This is a threaded bolt that goes into this arm right here. You tighten that up. Once again, they give you this tool, but I'm not really 100%. I don't like that tool. Unfortunately, when I moved here from the East Coast, I got rid of all my tools, so I don't really have my wrenches. But, you know, I will get some from Harbor Freight later on today. And the ones on the left, and those are tightened counterclockwise. One thing I failed to mention with the tires is that I did pump them. The maximum inflate to is 70 PSI. So I inflated these to 65 PSI. I'm 190 pounds. So I thought my big butt is probably gonna push down these tires. So I said, let me just do 65. This was built in China, and it was made on June 5th, 2020. Bit of adhesive residue. Need to get some glue on for that. Really cool design element, a couple of red spokes on the rear wheel. Initially, I was a little bit concerned about having to take off the rear wheel, because I know that there's two types of cogs here. So I guess this one is the freestyle cog. So this allows me to cycle forward and then move back. Okay, so that's the free cog. And then you have the fixed cog. So if I had the chain on this side, meaning I flipped the wheel on the other way, if I even when I move forward, the pedals would still go forward. It wouldn't be able to go backwards because the chain would be fixed. There are also some attachment points right here. So for a rear basket or something along those lines. So overall, I'm pretty happy with it. All right, guys, so this is what the bike looks like fully assembled. Very cool. So now that it's upright, let me show you what this sticker looks like. Front, so you know that this is the way that it goes. Really need to get some glue gun to get rid of that adhesive. It's driving me nuts. A couple of marks in shipping, paint chips. Regarding grease, they advise you to add grease here. So where the handlebar goes into the fork, you want to put some grease in there. And then you also want to apply some grease here. So I removed a couple of things off the bicycle. So right here, these are front reflectors and rear reflectors. So they would normally go on the front wheel as well as the rear wheel. I didn't really like them aesthetically, so I took them off. It's pretty simple to take them off. You just have to use a, sorry for my nails being so dirty, you just have to use a flat head to unscrew them, and they just come right off. So this is the rear reflector. Now, I didn't want to take the rear reflector off. I wanted to obviously be safe, but the issue with this bike is that it is very tall. So it's a 57, it's a large, they consider it. From everything that I read on these single speed bikes, a person of my height, 6 foot, is gonna need an extra large, but I guess not. So this sat right here, okay? Now the issue is this seat is all the way at the bottom right now. You can't go any further, because first of all, this bolt holds it up, and this goes down. So if I had this in there, I'm looking at another ½ inch of height. So I took that off. I also took off the front reflector. That's that right here. These are the tools that they give you. So like I said, it does get the job done. It'll tighten things, but obviously I suggest you use an actual 15mm wrench for the front. This little hiding spot, this is where the hex, the 5mm for the front fork goes. So let's see, can you zoom in? Yeah, you see the little guy hiding right there? So that's where that goes. Now, just to let you know, all of these components, rather, are placed all the way at the bottom. So this can be raised if you wanted to. This can be raised if you wanted to, but right now, they're at the lowest setting. So once again, this is the Retrospec Harper single speed bike. I bought it for $199 off of their website. I ordered it on the 17th of July. It shipped on the 17th of July, and it arrived on Saturday afternoon, July 18th. So looking forward to many happy miles with this bike. Definitely any questions that you may have, please leave them in the comments below. Thanks, guys.